Yes. Oh, yes. Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. That was not enough. No.
The first service.
Good morning. I love it. I'm Randy Lewis.
And I'm Nicole Kirk, and welcome to All Souls for the Point, where non-believers, believers, doubters, agnostics, atheists gather together in community. We're so glad you're here, and you know what? We love you.
Yes. And welcome to our online viewers and everywhere members watching from all over the world. We're so glad that you've decided to join us today. Please stay after the service for our coffee hour conversations.
If you are a first-time visitor with us here this morning, we are so happy you're here, and we have a gift for you. If you would raise your hand and keep that hand up, our ushers are coming up the aisle, and they'll bring that gift to you. And after the service, some folks right up here front, after the service, you're invited to Sonnen Library. If you are new or newish, the Sonnen Library is out those back doors across the foyer, and there'll be someone there to greet you and answer any of your questions. Also, I wanted to give a little context this morning. We're going to have two special musical pieces from our amazing choir up there in the loft, and thanks to our two screens, we can actually see them now. But this morning, it's Black History Month, and they are going to be sharing African spirituals. Now, I just want to lift up for everyone that African spirituals are a genre of music created by enslaved Africans in America, encompassing sing-songs, work songs that evolved into what we know as the blues and gospel traditions. Now, they're rooted in biblical stories, so you're going to hear some biblical language. They also give voice to extreme hardships of enslaved people in bondage in this country through the 1860s. As the amazing Black theologian James Cone wrote, through song, enslaved people created new structures for worship and new structures for their existence, affirming newfound experience that could not be destroyed by those who enslaved them. It was born from their experience, and also spirituals have become recognized as one of the first signature pieces of music here in the United States. So when you hear these spirituals and you're going to hear religious language, know that this is a part of a very old genre of music, a very important one, and it's a part of our celebration of Black History Month and our service today.
Thank you. Well said. Now, please join us in saying our covenant that's printed in your order of service.
And on two screens.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law.
This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
The flaming chalice is a symbol of the Unitarian Universalist tradition, a tradition of which this congregation is a part. Now today our chalice has been lit by Marcus Burns, Tyson Hickle, and their son Ellis Burns. Now both Marcus and Tyson are part of our All Souls Conscious Inclusion program, intercultural program, so we welcome them.
We gather this morning with open hearts, ready to release what weighs us down and shape what calls us forward. We light this chalice, a symbol of freedom, in a space made possible by a generation of care, by the stubborn courage of people who kept making beauty when the world gave them every reason to stop.
Yeah.
May we tend what they planted, may we nurture what they started, and may we remember wherever beauty is made, freedom breathes.
Good morning. My name's Lee Rumley, and I am part of the worship team here. And today I'm going to read you a story about the Detroit artist Tyree Guyton, who transformed his blighted neighborhood by creating art from discarded materials. It's Magic Trash, a story of Tyree Guyton and his art by J.H. Shapiro, illustrated by Vanessa Brantley Newton. A winter chill whooshed down Heidelberg Street. Young Tyree Guyton buttoned his coat. His last button flipped into the gutter. He dove after it, then dug through frosty leaves. He pried a popsicle stick from the ice. He hoisted a bicycle wheel off the curb. He scooped up a baseball cap buried in the snow. Pockets clanking, Tyree darted home. His mama didn't earn enough money sewing and cleaning to buy new shoes, much less bikes and balls. So he zapped fun into amazing junk that others tossed away. Let rockets fly, boards tower high, bounce, jump, and dance, magic trash. Tyree barely heard the thump-thwack of his brother's games while he dreamed up designs. In school, he sat alone drawing pictures. When his report card arrived, his aunt asked, "Is Tyree dumb?" "Maybe crazy," his mama whispered. Then one sunny day when Tyree was 9, his grandpa Sam popped a brush into his hand. "Paint the world," Grandpa said. Tyree dipped into Grandpa's cans of color, aiming his brush like a magic wand. Abracadabra, Tyree's shyness vanished. Tyree zoomed from bent bottle caps to rusty wheels. Grandpa Sam's words twirled in his head. "I'm going to be an artist," Tyree said. His mama hung her head. "That's not a job." Tyree clenched his brush. He would be an artist. Brush greens and blues on wheels and shoes. Slosh, slap, and splash, magic trash. At age 12, Tyree squinted into spiraling smoke as National Guard tanks rolled down the street. All his life, neighbors had raced out of town to live in the suburbs. Now, some had stayed, exploded in rage, like bottles of shaken ginger ale. Rioters were burning buildings in his neighborhood. When he grew to be 16, Tyree too left the shapes and hues of Heidelberg Street to see a new life. But he never forgot about painting his world. So he enrolled in art school to learn about more colors, lines, and designs. At last, Tyree bolted back to Heidelberg. When he returned, though, his street had changed. Houses sat deserted, creeping with spirits of owners who had run away from the neighborhood. Tyree tripped over trash. Troublemakers lurked. They snuck into hollow houses. They even set fire to one. Woo! Spirits whirl, new troubles swirl, kick, burn, and hurl magic trash. "No," cried Tyree, "not on this street." His mama still lived in the same home. Tyree grabbed his brush and burrowed through rubbish. He cast spells on suitcases, toilets, and a slide trombone. Before the colors dried, Grandpa Sam hurried out to help. They painted a bus. They tied shoes to trees. They flung broken bikes and cast off tires on burnout buildings and forgotten yards. And they painted faces of God in blue, black, and orange. Their street sparkled. When trouble still sizzled in one discarded home, Tyree coated it in dots and squares of pink, blue, yellow, and purple. And thieves hustled from its view, chased away by bright paint and trash. Spying hungry, crying children, he dangled broken baby dolls on telephone poles and rooftops. Maybe now others would see. Bright colors flash, scared dealers dash, bark, cry, and swing magic trash. Some people squawked about the garbage. Soon bulldozers rode up to the project. "You can't do that," yelled neighbors. "Get out of here," others screamed. "Tyree's trash is beautiful." Tyree scrambled to snatch a few pieces. "This is my art," he cried. But the dots and stripes and baby dolls lay bashed and smashed and still. Old houses talk, some neighbors squawk, crash, bash, and smash, magic trash. Art had filled Tyree and Grandpa Sam's lives. Grandpa Sam had grown too old to help. "Never stop painting," Grandpa said. And then Tyree stood alone with brushes, paint, and trash. It wasn't along for long. "We can help," neighbors called. "Your colors and dots chased away those thieves." Together, they shoveled, swept, and hauled in new trash. Then, after 8 years, neighbors heard records screeched a second time. Faces of God watched while the city crushed 2 more houses. Tyree and his neighbors were hopping mad. "This street is ours," they said, "and we'll never quit." They marched downtown to tell their story to a judge and jury. The city argued that Heidelberg Street was a garbage dump. "No," decided the court, "it is art." Tyree's work survived. The next day, Tyree and his neighbors began anew, aiming their brushes like magic wands. United by trash, they cast a spell on the street, brightening their home for good. Word of Heidelberg Street spread far. Folks from Canada, Kenya, and Japan scurried to the neighborhood. Tyree waved his brush welcome. Let rockets fly, boards tower high, bounce, jump, and dance magic trash. Now the children and youth can go to class with Miss Paula, she's there in the back, and talk about the ways art and creativity can inspire change.
This day we come with an openness to share our hearts with this community. We're reminded that in times of difficulty and darkness, there's always a light that leads us. Today, heartfelt condolences to the Darby family, for Bob Darby, who passed away this week. We're holding in our hearts his wife, Bonnie, his children and grandchildren. 3 generations of the Darby family have been a part of All Souls, and we're holding them. Heartfelt condolences to Jean Ann Fowler and the family on the loss of Tom Fowler, who passed away on the 9th. Now, Tom and Jean Ann both have been serving as chairs of our current capital campaign. So we're holding them in love and gratitude. We hold space today and offer condolences for longtime member Steve Woodall and his wife Rita. Steve passed away this week, and we're holding that family in care and compassion. Also, we hold space for member Joe McDonald, who died this week. And we're offering condolences to Robert, Libby, and Becky Billings on the loss of Robert's mother, Carolyn Northcott, who passed away on Wednesday. And we're holding space for all those in our community who are recovering from illness, facing challenges, health challenges, including Danny Craig, Clara Cross, Bill and Janet Westcott. And congratulations are in order to members Gary Allison and Barbara Banning as they celebrate their 40th anniversary. And congratulations to member David Ratliff, who has a new grandbaby born this morning, Effie June. So we pause in this moment. Breath meets body, light meets earth. There's much around us, and still we are here. Creation is not finished with us. It lives in repair in care, in our listening. May we shape the world with open hands, steady hearts, and the courage to move when love calls. May we find the strength we need in the hour it is needed the most. As we enter into silence, let us hold each other with tenderness and care.
There we go. Our reading this morning comes from the poet Mary Oliver, favorite among many. The title is The Word, from What Do We Know? Poems and Prose Poems. How wonderful! I speak of the soul, and 7 people rise from their chairs and leave the room. 7 others lean forward to listen. I speak of the body, the spirit, the mockingbird, and the hollyhock, leaves opening in the rain, music, faith, angels seen at dusk. And 7 more people leave the room and are seen running down the road. 7 more stay where they were, but are making murmurous, disruptive sounds. Another 7 hang their heads, feigning disinterest through their hearts, though their hearts are open. Their hope is high that they will hear the word even again. The word is already for them the song in the forest. They know already how everything is better, the dark trees less terrible, the ocean less hungry, when it comes forth and looks around with its crisp and lovely eye and begins to sing.
Troubles of the world, troubles of the world, the troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. I want to meet my mother. I want to meet my mother. I want to meet my mother. I'm gone troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Gone home to live with God. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. The troubles of the world. The troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Gone home to live with God. No more weeping and wailing. No more weeping and wailing. No more weeping and wailing. I'm going to live with God. No more weeping and wailing. No more weeping and wailing. No more wailing. No more weeping and wailing. No wailing. No troubles of the world, the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Gone home to live with God. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world. Gone home to live with God. I want to meet my Jesus. I want to meet my Jesus. I want to meet my Jesus. I'm going to live with God. I want to meet my Jesus. I want to meet my Jesus. I want to meet my Jesus. I'm going to live with God. I'm going to live with God. I'm going to live with God.
Beautiful spiritual from the African tradition in this country. When my son was born, he came early. On a Sunday night, 5 weeks before we expected him. I had preached that morning in the church that I served, and so his arrival was definitely a surprise. He was just 5 pounds and could fit in the palm of my hand. On the day after he was born, he stopped breathing. The nurses resuscitated him, but he continued to have episodes of apnea. And so a week later, I stood in the neonatology intensive care unit at Rainbow Babies and Children Hospital, surrounded by the sounds of beeping monitors and dim light. Baby Kirk had been transferred to this distinguished hospital because no one could figure out why he would stop breathing. On the second day of his stay, we waited for the doctors. Some of you know what that's like, waiting for the doctors. to come around on their rounds and tell you something, some kind of news. And so we waited and waited to hear about our baby's condition. After hours of waiting, Dr. Fanneroff, a world-renowned neonatologist, he apparently wrote the book about neonatology at the time, he stood at my son's bassinet with a pod of medical students in tow. Dr. Fanneroff gently picked up little Kirk and held him up like a scene from The Lion King. Medical students, piercing eyes, staring up at my child, the doctor holding him aloft. I'm like, be careful. And he looks at him from one side and the other. And, he barely fits in the palm of hand, so it's taking two hands to hold his head, a sagging diaper. And the doctor then turns to us and to the medical students and says, "This little one has a wise soul. He's going to be just fine." Then he placed the baby back in the crib and left the room. Now, we were not looking for soul diagnosis. We wanted a medical diagnosis. We wanted answers, interventions, a prognosis. We wanted to know if our son would live, and he did. And if so, what kind of life would he have? And this renowned physician, holding up our child under the dim light, saw something else entirely. I've thought about that moment many times over the years. What did he see? The doctor wasn't looking at the chart. He wasn't checking the monitors. He was looking, really looking at my baby with a quality of attention that perceives something beyond the measurable. He saw our son not as a collection of symptoms, and sometimes being in the hospital, it can feel like that. Not a collection of symptoms to be solved, but a person, already whole, already possessing something worth naming. And in that moment, that doctor called it soul. The poet Mary Oliver has wrestled with the concept of soul in a few of her poems over the years. In one amusing take, she reflects on the power of the word. Mention the soul, and 7 people leave the room, and 7 people lean forward to listen. I always wonder if she was inspired by Unitarians when she wrote that. In another poem, Some Questions You Might Ask, Mary Oliver wonders, is the soul solid like iron, or is it tender and breakable like a moth's wings in the beak of an owl? Who has it, and who doesn't? One question in her poem leads to another, and to another. And what's key to Oliver's questions is that she doesn't give us the answers. Jungian psychologist James Hillman spent much of the later part of his career thinking about the concept of the soul. In his classic work, The Soul's Code, I think it came out in the 1990s, he opens the book with a statement that I have taken to heart over the years as a minister and kept close. Hillman wrote, "There is more in a human life than our theories allow of it." There is more in a human life than our theories of it allow. I've never believed the soul is something inside of us that needs to be saved or that could be damned, for that matter. Rather, I have thought of our soul as creative energy, our personality, our free self, that essence of a person's that when they die, you feel is no longer there. That's how I've long used the word. Hillman says the soul is a perspective rather than a substance, a viewpoint towards things rather than a thing itself. The soul is how we see deeply. It's how we listen with intention. It's our experience of the world through our senses. The soul is how we make meaning, turning events into experiences. When we are creative, we are expressing our self, our souls in this meaning, making energy, sharing it with the world, whether through a garden, like outside our beautiful windows, the written word, woodworking, singing, the bringing together of elements to make something new, maybe a doodle in the corner of the paper in your hand. So instead of what is the soul, I want to ponder this morning, what does the soul have to do with freedom, and what does freedom ask our soul to do? We are in a moment of history when the world is contracting around us, when freedoms that we thought were enshrined in the Constitution and the law, freedoms we perhaps took for granted even as they have never been fully applied to everyone, freedoms, although precarious, still had footing in our society. They are disappearing, they're under attack, they're under siege. In this moment, there's a temptation to shut down, to go numb, to hold our breath and hide. I've even had friends, respected friends, say, why do I even have to know my constitutional rights? Because they're being ignored. What's the point anymore? I want to share a story that shows us one of many ways for us to not only stay human in this moment, like the series that our senior minister Marlon has been sharing with us, not only how to stay human, but how creativity can fuel our justice work. There is a place in Alabama where the Alabama River bends so sharply, the land nearly becomes an island. A piece of land surrounded on three sides by water, the place is called Gee's Bend. Now, the name Gee's Bend comes from Joseph Gee, a white man from North Carolina, who arrived in 1816 with 17 enslaved people to carve out a plantation on the rich river bottom land. And when Gee became overwhelmed by debt, the land passed to a relative named Mark Petway, who bought the land and also brought more enslaved people, hundreds of women and children and men, to work the land. The enslaved people were given Petway's name, and so to this day, most everyone in Gee's Bend is named Petway, whether they are related or not. After the Civil War, the newly freed people stayed, working under the sharecropper system, which, don't get me wrong, is a new form of enslavement that pushed people into deep debt. In 1932, when the merchant who held the sharecropper's debt died, his estate organized a raid to go over to Gee's Bend and to recoup their losses. They seized livestock, farm equipment, food, anything of value, and left the black community with almost nothing. The Roosevelt administration, FDR's, identified Gee's Bend as one of the most impoverished places in the United States. But this is only a part of the story of Gee's Bend. I want you to listen to the next part the most closely, because it's also a place where creativity bloomed, where beauty has reigned, where generation after generation of women quilted. They took scraps of fabric and worn-out clothes, feed and flour sacks, and scraps left over from sewing the clothes for their family, and turned them into beautiful quilts that, yes, kept them warm, made their beds soft, held their memories, kept the drafts out by hanging them on the walls, but also decorating their homes with beauty, and kept their memories and comforted them. Some even felt particular quilts had a particular power to keep them safe. Missouri Petway, when her husband Nathaniel died, made a quilt out of his clothes, and in her words, to cover up under it for love. Mincy Lee Petway, one of the quilters, one of the dozens and dozens of women through the generations, some who are still with us, many who have passed, she said that ought not two quilts ever be the same. because they created their own bold, geometric, improvisational patterns that were bright and unique and reflected what they saw in the world around them. The women created their own patterns and called it My Way quilts. My Way quilts. And the quilts were a source of freedom. They found freedom in the world that they sought to take, a world that sought to take their freedom away, economically, educationally, socially, and their voting rights too. In 1965, with the urging of local leaders, civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. brought his voting rights campaign to Wilcox County, where Gee's Bend sits, after learning that the African American population of the county was at 80%, and yet registered voters in the county was 0%. Not 1, not 2, 0%. And it's not for a lack of trying. Members of Gee's Bend had tried to register to vote time and time again. They have gathered meetings, they had tried to protest, and the sheriff's office actively worked to intimidate black members of the community, shut down meetings where they gathered to discuss voters' rights. And finally, in 1962, the county closed the ferry that linked Gee's Bend to the county seat, turning what once was a 7-minute commute across the river on the ferry to a 40-mile trip along very bad roads for people who had very few cars. King traveled to Gee's Bend, and 300 people crammed into the Pleasant Grove Baptist Church to hear him speak. And King told the crowds quite clearly, he said to them, "You are somebody. You are somebody," and that they mattered. And they needed a voice. They needed to vote. Answering his call, the people of Gee's Bend, once again, this time piling in trucks because they had to go 40 miles to get there. They piled in trucks and they traveled to the county seat with Dr. King to protest and to register to vote. And at first, they were chased away with smoke bombs and tear gas, and so they came back with more people. Now, the women of Gee's Bend who marched to the courthouse, they marched because they had spent years and years on the porch and at the kitchen table doing soul work, making something beautiful and practical out of whatever they had. And this beauty and this work, those needles and threads and scraps of fabric, fueled their justice work. A year later, in 1966, more than 60 quilters in Gee's Bend founded the Freedom Quilting Bee, a women's cooperative that sold quilts to raise money for the civil rights movement. They used their quilting and communal bonds to fight injustice. The soul's work of quilt making, their creative freedom, fueled their ability to push back, fueled their ability to live out their values of love and justice out into the world. Those quilts found their ways into businesses, found their way into the Sears Roebuck catalog. Remember those things? And those quilts then began to be recognized for their beauty and as art. And money started to come in. But the art community took notice and saw that within these quilts, within these patterns, within these My Way quilts, these women had created expressions of Southern art with deep roots going back to the 19th century. And that now, to this day, many of these quilts are displayed across the country, and for me, rather importantly, and I hope you look them up after the service, more importantly, there's also a museum in Gee's Bend where they still quilt. The women still quilt. Later, when Dr. King was assassinated in 1968, some of you may remember that his casket was taken in a simple farmer's cart with 2 mules. Those 2 mules were from Gee's Bend. The people of that community felt a strong connection with King. There is a classic greeting Quakers sometimes use with one another. Instead of asking, "How are you?" they ask, "How is it with your soul?" How is it with your soul? It's a question we could ask ourselves, albeit with different understandings of the soul. It's a question for me about freedom, a question about your creative spirit. It's a question about love. It's a question about how are you feeling connected? How are you making beauty in this world? How are you fueling your work against injustice so we can make it a better world together? What are you making? That's another question I ask of you right now. It doesn't have to be art with a capital A. The women of Geesbend were not trying to display their work at a museum, although that's where many of the quilts are today. They were making something practical to decorate their homes, to warm their bodies, to make some beauty in the world. Some say we are but mud and breath. It is an old story about this world. We come from the earth, we return to it, and in between, for a brief, astonishing time, we breathe, we create, we love. Soul's freedom, freedom of the soul. No one can take that from you. No one can take that from you. They can shut down the ferry. They can close the courthouse. They can throw smoke bombs and tear gas. They can make the road longer and harder, but they cannot stop your hands and your heart from making something that is beautiful and meaningful. Never make a path somebody else made, the quilters of Geesbend said. Make it your way, from whatever bits and pieces and scraps, and let your mind build the pattern. Mary Oliver asks, is the soul solid like iron, or is it tender and breakable like the wings of a moth and the beak of an owl? The quilter of Geesbend might say the soul is tender and strong as the hands that stitch it into something new. And all of this, in the days and the weeks and the months and, God forbid, years, do not forget to breathe, to make something, because in the long night that beauty will sustain you and is an expression of freedom in this world. So I ask you this morning, how is it with your soul? However you define it. And what are you making? Blessed be. David Smith. Of course I'm doing the announcements. Because I love them, because it's a part of this thriving humanist community, this thriving All Souls. Well, this is on point. The United States is living in the midst of immigration deportations without due process, unjust detention, and family separation. The current moment calls for bold, innovative solutions that meet urgent needs of our immigrant neighbors and loved ones. And the Defending Our Neighborhood Fund, or Defending Our Neighbors Fund, is doing just that. The Defending Our Neighbors Fund is a partnership with the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and it provides rapid response legal aid to immigrants facing detention, deportation, and family separation. Today's offering goes to the Defending Our Neighbors Fund, and it is always a part of what we do here, that we're giving away our plate to an organization that does good works out in the world, living our values of love and justice. Every Sunday is Joining Sunday. So if you are ready to become a member of All Souls, and you just want more information about membership and the process, you are invited today at 12:45 in room 203, and that's a place where you can have your questions answered, or you can join All Souls. Now, after this service today, we have our first Justice Jam of the year, and this Justice Jam is going to feature me and Natalie Arthur, our security task force leader, and also Kay Rock, who's with the Tulsa Equity Organization. And the three of us are going to be talking about what's happening on the ground here in Tulsa in terms of immigrant deportation and being detained, and also give you a lot of resources. There's a lot of trainings happening in town. I know a lot of people are eager to help, and so this is going to be a beginning conversation talking about different ways to equip ourselves for this moment in time. So it's right after the service. Lunch starts at 12:30 on a sliding scale. Join us for lunch, and the program begins at 1. Hope to see you all there. Now, that's a bad note. The hills are alive with the sound of music. I don't know what comes after that. But if you like the sound of music, and maybe with a different voice, then this coming Thursday, February 19th, All Souls invites everyone, Tulsa area musicians, churches, community choirs, and all of our neighbors to the Tulsa Choir Resistance Sing. It's an evening of beautiful choral music, hymns, and protest songs centered on peace, love, unity, and community. So it's this Thursday. Hoop, what time is that? 6:30. So I hope to see you all there, and I'm going to be singing, and hope you'll be singing with me. And then, if that's not enough, the hills are alive with the sound of music, because Saturday night, February 21st, you can join us for an evening of Broadway-style music performed by All Souls members and friends. A lot of you tried out. And it's an evening called All Souls Little Theater Broadway Review Dessert. If they didn't have me with Broadway, they got me with dessert. If they didn't have me with friends and neighbors, they got me with dessert. This is going to be a great event, welcoming way to spend time together, celebrate the creativity that lives in our community and the beautiful voices. I'm not singing that, by the way. So come for the show, stay for the connection, and for what? Dessert. Someone's listening. I also want to invite you that this Wednesday, after Mardi Gras, after Fat Tuesday, this Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. And here at All Souls, we have a tradition of doing a Unitarian Universalist Ash Wednesday service. It's in the slot when we usually have Wednesday Connections chapel, so it'll be 6:30 in the chapel. Come if you're curious to see what Ash Wednesday service at All Souls would be like. Come if you're a regular. We hope to see you there. It's a beautiful, very moving service. For more information, actually, someone told me, also check out and maybe do some Googling. I believe the mosque here in town is having an open house, and so I've been told that you may not have to necessarily register, that you can just come. They want as many people to come and be a part of it and learn what they're doing here in Tulsa. So look that up if you're interested about that this afternoon. So for more information on these events, check out the back of your order of service, check out the website, open your email blasts from All Souls and read them and see what is there for you to do here. That's what I'm trying to say. And now we so gratefully receive our offering for Defending Our Neighbors Fund and hearing another beautiful spiritual.
Ain't that good news? Ain't that good news? Ain't that good news? I'm gonna lay down this world, gonna shoulder up on my cross, gonna take it home to my Jesus. Ain't that good news? Good news. I got a robe up in the kingdom. Ain't that good news? I'm gonna lay down this world, gonna shoulder up on my cross, gonna take it home to my Jesus. Ain't that good news? Good news. I got a Savior. Good news. Good news. Ain't that good news? Good news. Good news. Ain't that good news? Ain't that good news? I'm gonna lay down this world, gonna shoulder up on my cross, gonna take it home to my Jesus. Ain't that good news? Good news. Good news. Good news, my Lord. Ain't that good news? Good news, my Lord. Ain't that good news?
It's been so wonderful to be with each other today, and I want to let you know that Reverend Marlon Lavenhar will be back with us next Sunday. We've been missing him, but we've really been, as a staff team, inviting him to spend the time he needs after the death of his mother, to be with his family, and to take that time for himself. And it was actually a great privilege because he said, "Okay, I trust you, and I will." And so we are missing him too, but he'll be back with us next Sunday. His mom's memorial, Patty Lavenhar, who's also a member of this congregation, will be here tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and we'll celebrate her life with one another. I hope you can make that. It'll also be live streamed. If you have children, we invite you to pick them up. No, we ask you. We ask you. We ask you to pick them up, maybe on the playground because the day's beautiful, or the west end of the building before that first sip of coffee. And I do hope that many of you could join us for the Justice Jam that starts. And if you just need lunch and you don't have time for the programming, come on, pay on the sliding scale, have a good lunch. I think that's all I was supposed to say, right? Yes, okay. So, may the truth that sets us free, the hope that never dies, the love which casts out fear, lead us forward together until love leads the way. Go out on this day with creativity in your heart, with freedom in your soul. Live out in this world joy despite what is happening all around us. Bring all of yourself, your full self, and in all of it, bring through the threads of love. Please know that you all are loved and that you can be a loving force in this world. Thank you.